So here we are, College Talk Tuesday live, the funny hat edition. I had tried to do this before, it didn't work, and hopefully this is working now. I'm going to remove my special Independence Day hat because I have only some small amounts of shame left to preserve. So we're going to talk today about how to slash college costs by 48%, even if you earn a six-figure income and you don't think there's any hope for you at all. And I was going to start out today talking to you about two conversations I had literally within the last 2 hours. So because they have bearing on today's topic. So the first conversation I had was with a client of mine whose name is Anna. That's her real name. I'm not going to give you any more particulars. Whose son is a recruited athlete at a Northeastern private liberal arts college, and she got a lousy financial aid offer, even though she deserved a much better one. And we know her pretty well because we've worked with two of her other children before we started working with her for her son. And what the issue revolves around is that she had, at least in the eyes of the financial aid office, she had blown a deadline, a priority deadline, to send in her financial aid forms. And in her case, it was not only the FAFSA, but also the CSS profile. And the reason that this is very critical is because the financial aid officer, in a very sort of judgmental, pursed lips type of way, told her, you did not get your form in as early as some other people, so we ran out of money, and we can't give you any money at this point. And my client had sort of relied on the coach for her son's team to help guide her through this process. And what I looked up now, long after the fact, was that, yes, he'd applied for admission on time, and it looked like, she wasn't sure, but it looked like he'd applied by November 15th of last year, of a senior year in high school. Also, what she should have done was have us submit her financial aid forms, meaning the CSS profile, on that day also. Now, just to back up, there's two main financial aid forms in use today. There's the FAFSA, Free Application for Federal Student Aid, that is used by every college in the country. And then there's also another form called the CSS profile, College Scholarship Search Profile, that is used by roughly 260, 270 four-year colleges in the country. So the difference between the two forms is that the FAFSA is 108 questions or so, and it's used mostly to obtain federal money. It's used mostly by state schools that don't have their own funds. The CSS profile, because it's used by schools that have their own endowment, is much more complicated and much more involved. It's 200-something questions. Now, what's more important for purposes of today's episode of College Talk Tuesday is that you need to understand your deadlines. You've got to, notwithstanding all the fluffy rhetoric by colleges in terms of, how generous they are and how much money they have to give out, so on and so forth, they're not going to make it easy for you to get their money because they are businesses. So what you need to really do is forearm yourself, forearmed is forewarned, and look at all of the priority financial aid deadlines because you don't want to miss them and suffer the fate that my client did. Now we're in the process of trying to appeal, trying to get more money out of the school than they offered initially, which was like $2,700. And in reality, she should be getting, I'd say, $40,000. So when we hung up right before, I said, I'm not sure you're going to come close to that number because they need to now find this money for you. But that's really what you should have gotten, and it was only that because she overlooked the priority deadline, and we certainly didn't know. I wish we were in the loop a little bit more. We always try to have our clients keep us in the loop. This might have been prevented, but we'll see. It's not over yet. The second conversation I had, which was moments before I started this, the dry run for this broadcast, which I thought was the actual live one, is that I had a conversation with a prospective client who is divorced. And the thing I wanted to highlight to you is that the financial aid forms, the FAFSA in particular, asks for information of the quote-unquote custodial parent. And that is a definition that is different than what the IRS might consider to be the parent that can declare the kid as a dependent for tax purposes. So in other words, the IRS rules and regulations are completely separate and discrete and insular compared to the Department of Education regulations when it comes to declaring which parent is the correct parent. So for financial aid purposes, what they care about on the FAFSA is the parent that is the custodial parent, meaning the parent that the kid resides a majority of time with. That may or may not be the parent that also takes the kid as a deduction. So this mom had probably missed out on maybe $5,000, maybe a little bit more, for the first 2 years, so $5,000 each for the first 2 years of her daughter's college education. Hopefully we're going to work together and try to go after some of that money, maybe not retroactively, of course we'll try, but on a going forward basis. So divorce is whether or not you're divorced is another nuance, another moving part in the whole financial aid process. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit more about today's topic, and then what I want to refer you to at the end is that we're currently, for this week, Independence Week, we are doing a 50% off special on our instant college funding course. So understand that, and we get a lot of questions like this, so I'm just going to rattle off some answers to questions as well as the actual questions. Does this work for everyone? You know what? It works for a lot more people than you might think, because a lot of people rule themselves out without really understanding how things work. So the average discount at a college is 48.6%. It's almost 50% off. I fully expect that number to be at 50% in the near future, and within the next couple of years. That number, the discounted number, is higher at private colleges and lower at state schools, mostly because the private colleges have more money to give. They play this kind of weird game of raising their sticker prices every year, but then dropping down with discounting. Paying full price is really a choice. It's not a necessity or an obligation somehow. At any given college, roughly 25% of families pay full price. They're subsidizing the other approximately 75%. It's up to you which pile you want to be in. The full price pile, the sucker pile, or the discounted pile. It's like, the analogy I think about a lot is if you're on a plane, you're flying cross country, you're not necessarily paying the same price that the guy next to you is paying, but you're still going to the same place. The third stat that really surprises people is that, and I don't mean to be political about this, there's enough politicking going on today and in the recent past, is that most aid goes to families in the top quartile of income, meaning top 25% of earners, mostly six-figure earning families. Advocates for low-income families have been very vocal and disappointed about that because they feel like that's not really where the money should be going. So putting that question aside, I'm just telling you where it is going. And if you are a six-figure earning family, again, the odds are stacked in your favor that you're going to receive money from some of the schools you apply to. Of course, picking schools, being strategic about this process is really going to benefit you if you're in that category. So there are different types of ways to get money. So there's the need-based system, which is based on a formula, cost of attendance minus estimated family contribution equals need. So cost of attendance means how much it costs for 1 year of college, tuition plus everything else. And the most critical part of this formula, the most critical component, is EFC, estimated family contribution. That's the number that the government thinks that you can afford for 1 year of school. If you have a high EFC, you're not eligible for too much. If you have a low EFC, you are more eligible for need-based funds. The thing about EFC is that for most people, not everyone, but for most people, it can be lowered. And for many of those people that can lower their EFC, it can be lowered in a way that will improve their eligibility. So I was away last week. We were on Cape Cod getting my 4th of July costumes ready for me and for Pearl, Lady Liberty, as I like to call her. And no, we were just on vacation. Fine. And I got a text from a client of mine who his son is finishing up, maybe starting his. I get mixed up. He's on a co-op program at a school in Boston. You can figure that out if you need to. And the first time he applied for financial aid, he got 0. His estimated family contribution was higher than the amount that the college charged for its cost of attendance. So the cost of attendance might have been $65,000. Remember, it's cost of attendance minus EFC equals your need. So the cost of attendance at 65 was greater than his estimated family contribution of like $80,000 or $90,000. What my client just heard back about from the financial aid officer after we had worked together and reallocated some of his assets was that his new EFC was somewhere around $20,000 and change. So he has now all of a sudden improved his eligibility from 0 to somewhere around the difference in this formula. So if it's $65,000 cost of attendance minus $20,000 EFC, that means that his need is $45,000. Will he get all that covered by this college? Not likely, because this particular school meets somewhere around 85 or 90% of financial need. What that means is that most of that $45,000 is what I would expect him to be able to receive now that he has shifted some of his money around. And I'm going to make a few comments on that. But what we're hoping for is that, let's say he gets an award of, let's call it $35,000. We're hoping that the vast majority of that $35,000 is free money, that he doesn't have to repay, not loans, that type of thing. So we're in the process of cleaning that up. I guess I'll advise you in a future episode of College Talk Tuesday what goes on. So the thing about lowering your EFC is that what most people really, the first place for most people to focus on is where they have their money saved, not necessarily how much, because in our client's case, he had a substantial amount tucked away, but it was in the wrong places. So what we're able to do is to reallocate that money from the wrong place into the right place, and he was able to, again, lower his estimated family contribution, which is the flip side, or the other way of saying he was able to improve his eligibility, by treble the amount that he had demonstrated before. So now I want to just point out to you that I'm going to give you the quick overview, but I want to cite you to our course at instantcollegefunding.com. I'll write that in the comments here. And if you go there and you enter the coupon code 1776, I know it's clever, or maybe I should say 1776, then you will get 50% off. So instead of paying $500 for the course, we're offering it for less than $250 today. Okay, I can't do it. Sorry, Pearl, in case you're watching. So we go through all this stuff in detail, not only in terms of the strategies and the specific products that you can use in order to lower your estimated family contribution, but also exactly how to fill out the financial aid forms and where on the forms you'll find these loopholes, legal and ethical loopholes, to improve your eligibility, but also some of the landmines, some of the mistakes to stay away from. Even a simple, innocuous mistake can cost you, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 to $20,000. You've got to be very careful about avoiding these costly mistakes. And our course, Instant College Funding, is what I believe to be the only resource out there that walks you through not only the philosophies and the concepts, but also with all sorts of checklists and things like that, but also how to actually fill out the financial aid forms. And I think the reason that we're the only course out there is because it's so boring to watch someone fill out the financial aid form. So I tried to make it kind of punchy and fun, but hey, it's dry material, so I can't promise you that. Either way, it's guaranteed. So if you don't like the jokes or something, you can get your money back. Check it out, Instant College Funding. Enough with my commercial. So in terms of specifically the types of savings that count against you and the stuff that doesn't count against you, what counts against you the most are child savings accounts. Those are UTMA and UGMA accounts. The 529 doesn't count against you as much, but it still counts against you in the financial aid formulas, even though it was pushed as a way to save for college. Any type of money in your names as a parent, assuming that parents are watching this, savings, cash, mutual funds, that type of stuff, that is all part of the picture, and that gets penalized in the financial aid formulas. What doesn't get penalized in the financial aid formulas are retirement accounts, the value of your primary residence if you're applying to a college that requires the FAFSA only, as well as insurance products that have cash value, and annuity products, and those can be different depending on which forms you're filling out. Again, all explained in instantcollegefunding.com. Also explained in my book, How to Pay Wholesale for College, which is available on Amazon. It's also available as a bonus in the Instant College Funding system. I realized that a while ago after I wrote some promotional copy for that. So better late than never. Anyway, so that's how the need-based formula works, and many people are needlessly overpaying because they have their money in the wrong places, or they're making mistakes in the financial aid forms, or they're not understanding how to negotiate or appeal an offer after you receive the financial aid, or the initial offer, or what the financial aid office would refer to as your final offer. But if they were really final, then I wouldn't be able to get the results that we get every year. This year, I had a client get an extra $10,700 and something per year from Muhlenberg. I had another client, I think either this year or last year, get an extra. Actually, this year she got an extra $25,000 from NYU above an offer of $0. A couple years ago, we had someone go from $0 to $38,000, $750 from Emory University, Harvard, Yale, you name it. We have these types of crazy results every year. I won't belabor that because I want to make this College Talk Tuesday episode kind of short. My point is that it's never a final offer. And one of the best things you can do to arm yourself against a lowball offer is to have other offers from competing schools in your hip pocket, also covered instantcollegefunding.com. Okay, now let's talk about merit-based money. And merit aid really means two things. It could mean money directly from the colleges, because colleges are getting more and more, I would say, aggressive in terms of the amount of merit-based funding that they offer. And there are changes, though, and that's sort of a sweeping statement, but there are exceptions. But every year there are changes, and this year, let me just see if I can get this in the frame here. This year, Elon University started giving a little bit less money, in my anecdotal experience. I'd used them before as a pick to get more money for some schools, to get some more money for some clients, and either with the idea of going to Emory, Elon, which happens to be a great college, but also to maybe use as a strategic offer to play off against a school that competes with Elon. So now I feel like they're giving a little bit less, because what they've done is they've raised their profile. What colleges do is exactly what Elon did, and many colleges before Elon, including Tulane, including George Washington University, including Northeastern and BU and whatever, is they have bribed kids who have great grades and scores to come with, offering them money, and that classes up their rankings in U.S. News and World Report, and that makes them much more, desirable to apply to, because now they can be more selective. So I feel like Elon's shutting that spigot off a little bit, and state schools have also gotten into this act, not only for the prestige, but also because out-of-state kids, even if they're discounted a little bit, still pay more money than in-state tuition, the in-state tuition numbers, and state colleges are really under fire because every year it seems like their funding is getting dried up from their various respective state governments. So they're trying to recruit not only kids from out of state, but also out of the country who tend to pay full price. So University of Wisconsin-Madison is one school that I noticed a few weeks ago. At this point, they announced that they are going to be awarding more merit-based scholarships, which again, advocates for low-income families sort of decry this, because most of the merit scholarships go to affluent families who, quote-unquote, don't need it on paper. But again, not to be political, that's just the way it is. So what that means is that they are now going after out-of-state kids who are going to class them up in terms of grades and scores, their averages, but also they're going to be giving more money to in-state kids who reside from within the state borders of Wisconsin, because in response to being cherry-picked away from Wisconsin to like Ohio State or some other Big Ten schools that do this. They'll poach these kids. So what that means is if you have a kid who's thinking about some of these Big Ten schools, you might actually be able to get a few bucks out of schools like Wisconsin. Indiana gives out money. Ohio State I mentioned before. Michigan doesn't really give out so much, but you might do well in this process if you are strategic about it. That's really what it comes down to, is understanding that this is a business, that colleges are negotiable, that if you play the game the right way, you don't have to pay full price. It's only a choice. It is not an obligation. So I think I'm going to wrap up here. I guess the last couple of things I wanted to point out to you is that I guess we started talking about the deadlines. The FAFSA is this may be summer, and we just came off of July 4th weekend, but the FAFSA comes out in less than 4 months. It's available October 1st. I said this before, forewarned is forearmed. The sooner you can get a handle on not only how to do these forms, but how to do them accurately and correctly and avoid mistakes that could cost you thousands, and also loopholes where you can possibly pick up a few extra dollars, you can get that information from me for like less than $250, which is a pittance compared to hiring me as a consultant, because we charge usually between $2,500 to $8,500 depending on what services we're offering, how long we work with clients, whether we're coaching them on college selection, all that other type of stuff. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to make that decision at all. You can dip your toe in the water, and it's guaranteed. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can take a free look. You can go through the videos. You can go through the bonus resources, how to negotiate, how to appeal. I have a lot of really good stuff in there that other past customers have really given me incredibly nice feedback about. I'm always trying to tweak it, and I will be adding a new video on the CSS profile the closer we get to October when the new profile comes out. So anyway, check it out if you're interested. If you have any questions at all about picking a list, about college coaching, about essays, about anything at all, just put a comment in here. I will be monitoring them at some point later this week after I catch up on all the work that seems to have accumulated during my vacation week. I hope you had a great holiday weekend. I hope it's back to business for you, and I hope you have a good week. This is Andy Lockwood. I am signing off for College Talk Tuesday. See you next week, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, right here. Bye-bye.